The rain had been falling since morning, gray clouds pressing low over the quiet Ohio suburbs where the world always seemed too calm for the storms that lived inside people's hearts. For 16-year-old Ryan Carter, the sound of rain against his window only meant one thing: another day stuck at home with a mother he barely spoke to. He sat at his desk, headphones in, pretending to do homework while really scrolling through his phone. His mother, Linda Carter, knocked softly and said, "Dinner's ready, honey." Her voice was gentle, the kind that carried both love and exhaustion. Ryan didn't answer. He never really did anymore. Linda sighed quietly and walked back to the small kitchen, where the table was already set. 2 plates, one missing fork, and a pot of spaghetti cooling faster than it should. The house had once been full of laughter when Ryan was little. Back then, Linda would chase him around with a wooden spoon, pretending to be a monster just to hear his giggle. But that was before everything changed, before his father laughed, before bills piled up, before the light in Linda's eyes faded into something that looked a lot like survival. She had raised Ryan alone since he was 5. She worked at a nursing home, long shifts, sore feet, endless patience. Ryan used to wait up for her, hugging her as soon as she walked through the door. But now, at 16, he'd stopped waiting. He didn't see the tired hands that paid for his shoes, or the weary smile that hid how close they were to losing the house. All he saw was a mother who didn't get it. That night, when she quietly placed his plate on the table, he muttered, "I'm not hungry." Linda looked at him for a second longer than usual and said, "You need to eat, Ryan. You've barely touched anything all day." He snapped back, "You don't need to worry about me all the time." The words came out sharper than he intended, but he didn't take them back. Linda didn't cry. She just turned away, whispering, "That's my job, sweetheart, worrying about you." The next morning, Linda left early for work. She kissed Ryan's forehead while he slept, a habit she never broke, even when he pretended to hate it. She slipped a small note under his phone. "Lunch money's on the counter. Love you." Ryan barely noticed when he woke up. His mind was elsewhere. The basketball tryouts, his friends, the party on Friday. Life outside the walls of their little home felt bigger and louder than her mother's quiet world. At school, he laughed with friends, posted stories online, and tried to forget how guilty he felt after last night's argument. When the final bell rang, his friend Tyler offered him a ride, but Ryan refused, wanting some space to think. The air was cold and the sky heavy with clouds. As he walked home, he noticed flashing lights ahead, a police car parked across his street. His steps slowed. 2 neighbors stood outside whispering. He didn't think much of it until one of them turned and said softly, "Ryan, are you Linda's boy?" His chest tightened. "Yeah, why?" The woman's voice trembled. "Sweetheart, there's been an accident. Your mom, she fainted at work. They took her to the hospital." The words hit him like ice. His phone slipped from his hand as he ran, heart pounding, legs weak, lungs burning. He reached the hospital 20 minutes later, out of breath and drenched in sweat. At the front desk, his voice cracked. "My mom, Linda Carter, please, where is she?" The nurse gave him that look, the one people give when they're trying to stay calm for your sake. She said, "She's stable, room 214. She collapsed from exhaustion and dehydration." He found her lying there, pale but breathing, an IV in her arm. The steady beep of the monitor filled the silence. Ryan froze by the door, tears already forming. He wanted to say something, anything, but guilt wrapped around his throat. He thought of the nights she came home too tired to eat, of the time she asked him about his day and he ignored her. He sat beside her, grabbed her hand, and whispered, "Mom, I'm so sorry." Her eyes fluttered open. She smiled faintly. "You're here." He nodded, trying not to sob. "Of course I'm here. I I didn't know you were this tired." Linda chuckled weakly. "That's what moms do, sweetheart. We don't show it. We just keep going." She closed her eyes again, and in that moment, Ryan understood what love looked like. Not in words, not in gifts, but in every quiet act of care she had ever given him. He stayed all night. The next morning, he called her boss and said, "She's not coming in for a while. I'll take care of things." He didn't know what that meant yet, but for the first time, he meant it. When Linda returned home from the hospital 3 days later, the apartment was spotless. The laundry that had been piling up was folded neatly on the couch. The kitchen smelled faintly of lemon, and dinner, homemade soup, simmered quietly on the stove. Ryan stood awkwardly near the table, still in his school hoodie, eyes red from sleepless nights. He mumbled, "I tried my best," glancing down. Linda smiled, her tired eyes softening. "It's perfect," she said. For the first time in years, they sat together without silence. She told him stories about her first job, how she once dreamed of becoming a nurse but had to quit college when she got pregnant. Ryan listened, really listened, realizing how much he never knew about the woman who had given him everything. Over the next few weeks, something changed. Ryan started helping at home, picking up extra shifts at the grocery store after school, handing her small envelopes of cash to help with bills. She'd protest, "You don't have to do that, sweetheart." But he'd insist, "I want to." For the first time, their home didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt alive. On weekends, they watched old movies together, laughing at scenes they both knew by heart. Months passed, and Linda's health improved. She went back to work part-time, but Ryan still kept his job, saving every dollar he could. He'd stopped hanging out with kids who mocked their simple life, stopped wasting time on things that didn't matter. Instead, he focused on his grades, determined to make his mother proud. One rainy evening, just like the day everything changed, he came home carrying a small box. Linda was cooking dinner, humming softly. "What's that?" she asked. Ryan smiled nervously and handed her the box. Inside was a silver bracelet with 3 engraved words: "You saved me." Her hands trembled as she read it. "Ryan," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," he said quietly. "You spent your whole life saving me, Mom. I just want you to know I see it now." They hugged. Not the quick, awkward kind, but the long, silent kind where everything broken slowly mends. Outside, thunder rolled, but inside their small apartment, there was only warmth. Years later, when Ryan graduated from college, the first in his family, he stood on stage, diploma in hand, searching the crowd until he found her, Linda in the second row, clutching tissues, smiling through tears. When he gave his speech, he said just one line that made the audience rise in applause. "I dedicate this to my mother, the woman who taught me that love doesn't always speak loud, but it never stops fighting." The crowd cheered, but Linda simply placed her hand over her heart, whispering, "That's my boy." That night, as they drove home, Ryan looked at her and said, "You know, Mom, I think I finally understand." She smiled, the streetlights reflecting in her eyes. "I knew you would," she said softly. And in that quiet, glowing car, the boy who once ignored her hand on his shoulder reached out and held it tight, knowing he'd never let go again.